Wow. Sometimes you gotta just come in blazing fast because you ain't got time for nothing but moving quick. So, oftentimes when you're working with projects like in Cursor or in other things, just in general, you have to collaborate with people. And a lot of people are going to be like, "Ugh, but there's just, I don't want to use Cursor AI to do a thing because there's no like good way to collaborate." While that's, maybe inherently from a surface level seems true, it's not completely accurate. Now, while that might be true, I'm going to help you see how you can use some tooling that exists for us as developers for yourself. When I taught at the university, it was very difficult to teach this concept to people because it was like in a terminal and it's hard and kind of scary and yucky. But the current code editors of today make this tooling a lot simpler, and it gets even simpler with AI. This tool is called Git, Git. It's very powerful for versioning, and it allows you to share your work with other people and merge those versions together. So that's how most of us as developers work on large projects together. We're allowed to touch different areas, and it all gets merged together through a concept called branching. Now, I am not going to go into a lot of detail into the mystical, magical functionality of Git. What I'm going to do is just show you a couple of high-level workflows that you can do with Cursor to work with Git. And at the end of the day, if you want to learn more about Git, like I've said, there's tons of tutorials out there, but I'm just going to talk about how I use Git in my AI workflow and how I use it as a collaborative tool to work with other people. So let's jump into this. We're going to create a project. I'm going to create a new folder here in my projects folder called Collab. Collab, short for collaboration. No, don't create another new folder. Open. So we have this folder. Now, we talked about these icons in the past up here. I'm going to go to the third one over. And this is where we're going to be utilizing things to work together. So coming back over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to just have this create some files for a very simple thing that doesn't take a lot of work, and hopefully I can one-shot it and it creates something a little useful. Maybe we'll keep it on the document side so that it's less about like a functioning app and more about some documentation. So let's do that. All right, so I have some stuff here that the AI created for us to kind of like showcase how these tools work. So first thing we're going to do is make sure that we can share it with multiple people. So what I'm going to do is come in here and click this button, and then it's going to say, you can directly publish this folder to a GitHub repository. Once published, you'll have access to source control features powered by Git and GitHub. So if your computer does not have Git installed on it, you'll need to install Git. If you ask the AI simple questions like, hey, do I have Git installed? And if it says no, can you say, you can ask it like, hey, can you help me get it installed? It'll walk you through that. So I already have Git installed. I'm not going to walk through that. It is coming by default on a lot of computers today. But there's a strong possibility you'll need to install it. But I'm going to click this publish on GitHub, and it's going to go, the extension GitHub wants to sign in using GitHub, and I'm going to say allow. And then it's going to say, your code is this. Would you like to continue to GitHub? I'm going to go say, cool, sure. So now it's going to take me to GitHub. I'm going to sign in, and it's going to do two-factor authentication for me. Continue through here, and it's 206-472, and continue. Device activation. Enter the code displayed on your device. Oh, we already had that code. It's this one that got copied earlier in the process. Authenticate to authorize access. I'm just going to continue. We're not going to authorize access to Sunstate. equipment at the actually allow me to do work stuff. We'll do it. Authorize. Cool. So now our device is connected and we're ready to go. So I'm going to close this window and we're going to publish on GitHub. And we're going to publish to a private repository or a public repository. If this is work related, your work might have a GitHub place that you want it published. I'm just publishing it to my own private repository and not making it public because this is, for me, it's private. GitHub does not charge for private repositories, but there are some limitations that they impose. But there you go. You can just click private repository and select which file should be included. It's saying okay. We're just has one selected. I don't know exactly what it's doing at the moment. There we go. Successfully published on GitHub. So now if I click the open on GitHub, we'll see that it's got a folder called book. And it's got characters. Okay, so it committed everything. That's great. So I can open up Princess Sasha here, and that's there. Cool. So now this is shareable. In theory, I can come here to the root and I can give access to someone, or I can share it across other computers with this tooling here, which we'll go over in just a moment. So cool. So let's talk about the workflow a little bit, and then we'll talk about sharing. So here's my file tree. I'm going to add a section to chapter 1, and we will kind of see what that does. So up until now, as changes have been applied, we have only had the option to accept the changes here or reject them. And we really haven't talked about that much detail, but that is an option. I can use these tools to kind of like reject or accept changes. Typically, I'm leaning into the like, I don't understand enough, so I'm going to just accept blindly most of the time and then iterate through the problems. What's nice though is I can then come over to here. I'm going to close our chat window. And I can, in this Git tool, I can see that there was a change here to this file. And I can click on this file and I can see what the change was. I can see that this red line was changed and now has a line break, and there's more here. Okay, if I hit this plus button, it will stage it and kind of create like a small short-term save spot so that as I continue to iterate with the AI, if I need to go back, I can remove changes. So I can come back to the chat and say, actually, it was a sunny morning. Can you update? I could have typed that in like 30 seconds, but that defeats the point. So now you can see, if we accept these changes and close it, that I have two sets of changes here. I have the initial change, which is adding all of these, but now I have this iteration, which is changing foggy to sunny. And if I didn't like this change that the AI did, I have this kind of like saved spot here so that I can click this discard changes, and I can discard the changes and go back to what I had before. Let's say that I want to add more. So I'm going to just add some more here. Accept these changes. I'm going to close this window again, and we can see here that we have this change here. But if I come down here, it decided to go back to it being a sunny morning, which is awkward. That's okay. And it's made these additional additions about the dialogue and the local dangers. It's added some more notes. And so I'm building out this story as I'm kind of working through it. Eventually, I'll write it into a whole chapter. Now, I'm going to say I like these changes. And so now they're all here, and then I can commit them. right? So I can write a little message here that says like chapter 1 outline and commit it. However, as a developer or as anyone working with this system, we can also use the AI to do it. So I'm going to ask the AI, hey, given the changes that I've made, I've got them staged and I would now like them committed. Can you review them and write a good commit message and commit it and push it up to the branch for me so that it can be shared with my peers? And now I'm going to let it do the work for me. So it's going to generate the status command to get info. It's going to write a descriptive message for me, and then it will ship it. And it has written the commit is a really interesting way. So it's added detailed chapter 1 outline with walking trees phenomenon. So that's interesting. It's got a feature and a story here. If we go to GitHub, did I close that? I sure did. If we go to GitHub and go to the code here, and we open up the book, and we open up story chapter 1, we can see all this outline. And because we've had it in Markdown, it looks good in GitHub. GitHub's able to render it nicely for us. And so we see these additional details that have been added to chapter 1 as an outline. So next is, well, hey, well, what if I want to share this with someone else or someone else has something to share with me? So what I can do is I can come in here and I can, we're going to do File, New, New Window, and we haven't done this one yet. Let me make this bigger. We haven't done this one yet, but we have Clone Repo. So Clone Repo wants the URL for the source. So I can click here to clone a GitHub repository. And it's going to go look at all of my GitHub repositories that I have access to. If I escape out of this and we do it again, I can provide a URL from an existing system. So I'm going to come in here. So if this was something I wanted to share at this root directory here, I can copy this, bring it back over here, clone, and I can paste that in there. So I can just give that URL to other people. I might have to do some management to add them, or if it's public, it should just work. And then it's going to ask, where do I want it? So I'm going to choose a folder here called projects, and I've got collab here. So I'm going to do a new folder that's called collab 2, create, and I'm going to select as the repository destination. And I'm, would you like to open the cloned repository? I would like to open it. And so now I have a folder with book, characters, and I believe we have this story here. So the last thing I'm going to show you is, well, if I make a change to one or the other, how do we get it? And in both of these cases, it's about the verbiage. So we talked about a commit. We talked about it being staged. We can talk about pushing up a change and pulling down a change. And so this is about pulling or pushing up a change and then pulling it down. So we're in the other one, right? So this is, we're in, there's so many open. So yeah, so this is the new one. So I'm just gonna come in here and say, I'm pretty sure that scene 1, where it says sunny morning, it's supposed to be foggy. And then remember, I can accept this change. I can come over here to the little GitHub flow area, and I can look at the change here where we've made it foggy. I can accept it. I made a change, and I need this change to be shared with everyone. Can you write a detailed commit and get it pushed up? So I've told it to write a detailed commit and push it up. And so those are some of the verbiages you got to remember. We're committing things after they're staged. So first we make a change, we stage it, then we can commit it, and then we can push. And then after we push, the last thing is going to be a pull. So this is writing a commit for us to update the commit. And so you can see here that update scene one atmosphere from sunny to foggy to better align with the character's mysterious atmosphere. It really dug into that commit message. So that's fun. So now that we've done that, if we go to the other app, so I'm going back to the other one, looking at the changes here, and if we open this up here and make this bigger, we still see that it's sunny. So what I'm going to say is, I believe my peers have made some changes to this repo. Can you pull down all the changes so that we're up to date? And there you go. You can see it changed to foggy right there. So in a nutshell, I can work with the editor to do all the Git commands. I don't need to learn it too much. However, I will warn you that if you and your peers seem to make changes to the same lines, it can put you in a flow that you will need to manage a merge. At that point, I would recommend that you do some research or ask it to help you walk you through the merge. I'm not going to spend time in this video going through it. I just wanted to kind of introduce the topic at a high level. And if you want to learn more, I'm going to encourage you to go learn more. So, like I said, though, even as I work in the system, I do use that staging feature to help me just keep track of what I like and where we're at and versus what the AI is adding. So even at a minimum, I use that as kind of like just a way to like keep track of what I like and don't like that the AI has done so far. So even that can be beneficial to you if you're not sharing it with someone. You could still make it a Git repository just so that you can have that feature. And if you wanted to do that, I'll show you real quick. If you open up a new window here and we have a project, come into my projects folder and new folder. We'll call this collab 3. All right, open. See, I didn't want to share it with anyone, but I just want to have that like ability to like do that staging. You can just initialize the repository. And then just like that, you now have that ability of Git to allow you to kind of keep track of stages that the AI is making changes so that if you ever get to a point where you don't like what the AI has done, you could roll back if you're doing commits. Or if even just the most recent iteration you don't like where it's headed, you could revert those files and just go back to what you currently have. At the end of the day, it's a powerful tool that can help you and get you to a spot where it's easy to kind of manage the changes that are happening across multiple people or even just across you and working with the AI. All that being said, it's going to be an adventure. You got to learn and dig into it. So buckle up, have some fun, and we'll see you next time.